JuGrTalk. I'm back. How you doing, everybody? This is Justin Grimes coming at you once again with episode 5 of the JuGrTalk podcast. I know it's been a while, but let's get into it. All right. Been through quite a bit since my last episode. I think it's been a couple of months even at this point. But once again, by popular demand, people have said that, hey, they miss hearing from me. They miss listening in on their commute. So I figure, you know what? Why not? I got a few things that we can talk about. So, I got a couple of follow-ups of some of the things I talked about previously. When it comes to like food and things like that. Let's just say spoilers, Wendy's part 2. Okay. But beyond that, let's, I think I'll just spend some time just yapping away and I'll try to fill you in on what I've been up to lately. All right. So, hey, sit tight, tune in, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. So again, got a few things I'd like to talk about today. I did take a few notes. I'm a little bit rusty, so, I'm just going to be yapping. Top of the dome. We'll see what happens. But first things first, I do want to get to this Wendy's follow-up. All right. Now, on our previous episodes, we talked a little bit about Wendy's and how ridiculously priced it is. I think I talked previously about me and my significant other, Kate, going to Wendy's at the drive-thru. And, it ended up being like $30. And comparing the price of that versus something like going to Applebee's, it was actually cheaper to go to Applebee's. And it has better service and there's better food and all of that stuff, right? So, a couple of days ago, me and Kate went to Wendy's again, all right? And now, here's the thing, too, all right? We live in a college town, and the Wendy's in this town, it's open pretty late. So I think by the time we were actually going to Wendy's, it was like 10 p.m. or something, right? So we were just hungry. We needed to grab a bite to eat. We were out and about. So, we're like, okay, let's just go to Wendy's. I got to get some quarters from the laundromat anyway, so we'll go to Wendy's. We pull into Wendy's. And there is a line going around the building. And I say, okay, first of all, this Wendy's line is always slow. All right. I told her, hey, I'm going to start a timer. I bet it's going to be at least 20 minutes before we're out of here. All right. And she said, no way. The Wendy's line is super quick. No way it's going to take 20 minutes. And I said, okay. So I set my timer. I got on my Apple Watch. I was like, you know what? Start the timer. Let's get a stopwatch going. We'll see what happens. All right. By the time we got up to the window, it was, I think, 12 minutes. So yeah, you know what? Maybe not quite 20 minutes, but it certainly wasn't a quick line, right? We were slogging through. And by wrapping around the building, by the way, I mean, there were like 5 cars in line, like 4 kind of leading up to the speaker thing and then 1 at the window, but even then it took about 12 minutes to get up to the window. And when we were up at the window, it still took another like 3 minutes or so. By the time we got out of the parking lot of Wendy's, the timer said 15 minutes. All right. That seems like a pretty long time for fast food. I feel like there should be certain metrics when it comes to how fast food is, at least when it comes to a place like Taco Bell or McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's, I don't know why it takes so long to get through the Wendy's line, but it seems to be a pattern. Not only is Wendy's one of the most expensive options for fast food, it's not even fast. You know what I mean? Like, okay. I'm just saying. And by the way, I did try something new off the Wendy's menu. It was the Takis Fuego chicken sandwich. All right. And I got to be honest, it was mid. All right. I mean, it was okay, but it certainly wasn't $15 good, you know? Certainly wouldn't pay that much again. And Kate got something else, she got a wrap. And most of her chicken wrap was lettuce. And hers was also around $15, you know? For, again, like the sandwich or a wrap, fries, drink. Not even a large, right? $15 a pop. $30 again. Going through Wendy's. And it wasn't even quick. You know? What's the point? You know, I feel like at this point, maybe Wendy's should transition into just a normal sit-down restaurant. At least then you can adjust your expectations of going to Wendy's. At least if it's like a sit-down place, let's say they even get rid of the drive-thru, you know? If it were a sit-down place, at least you would have the expectation that it's going to take a little bit longer, that it's probably going to cost a little bit more. But you know what? It's not. It's fast food, and it costs $30 for two people, and it takes almost 20 minutes to get through the line, through the drive-thru. You know? I'm just saying, there's something absurd going on when it comes to Wendy's. And maybe it's just this particular Wendy's location, but that doesn't really account for the price. You know? I feel like I've been to a lot of Wendy's restaurants for the drive-thru, and they all take a long time, you know? Yeah, Wendy's is wild. So just to recap, all right, we went to Wendy's again. I don't know why, all right? It was just kind of like a Wendy's mood. Sometimes you have like the mood to just go to Wendy's. And by the way, first thing I asked her, I was like, hey, we were at Walmart. I said, hey, you want to go get a biggie bag? You know? She said, oh yeah, let's go get a biggie bag. And we get in line. I'm looking at the menu. I'm like, oh, there's a Takis thing, you know? And I was looking at it. It's like, okay, it's a spicy chicken sandwich. Huge win for me. I love a good spicy chicken sandwich, right? And it comes with like fries that are coated in like Takis dust. And it came with a small bag of Takis too. So you get Takis and Taki flavor fries and a spicy chicken sandwich. And I'm like, all right, okay. They kind of won me over. So because I got that, I was planning to get a biggie bag, but I got that instead. Kate decided, hey, she's not getting a biggie bag either. She's getting this. We're getting the wrap. She's getting the wrap, you know? And it wasn't even that good. You know what I mean? Oh my God. I think I got to stop going to Wendy's. You know, you think I'd learn my lesson by now. But you know, you plan to go to get a biggie bag, and next thing you know, you're spending $30 on some other bullshit. So that's just how it goes, you know? Yeah, you know, Wendy's is crazy. You know what? We actually just went out to eat tonight. We went to Applebee's, you know? And, you know, for both of us, we sat down. They still have that $10 deal, you know? So I got this like spicy cheeseburger thing. And she also got like a bacon cheeseburger. And, you know, we split an order of chips and queso. And she even got like a sangria drink, you know? And for everything, even it also had bottomless fries. I will note that too. For everything, it ended up being after tip $40. All right. It was like $34 before tip. That like Wendy's. What is going on with Wendy's? You know, what's the point of going to Wendy's when you can go to Applebee's? You get better food, better service. People are there are nice. And, you know, it's just a better experience overall. You know, you can sit down, you know, that we were watching some of the sports. There was a hockey fight going on the TV. Like, all right, we're in for a good time. Right. But you know what? It was a good meal. I'm full. I feel satisfied. I don't regret my purchase going to Applebee's with my significant other, you know. And while Applebee's by no means is bougie, you know, it's fast casual, I guess you can call it. It's Certainly better than Wendy's, you know? I don't know. I don't know what the point of going to Wendy's is, you know? But here we are. I do want to talk about some other stuff, though. Um, so let me just get into some of my life updates. All right. I already kind of touched on it, but Kate and I are now living together. Super cool. We're in our new apartment, you know. We're right across from a huge, great looking cathedral. Super cool. And it's nice. You know what? It's really nice. It's a really nice place to be. We have a lot more space than even like combining our previous places together. We have a nice full-size kitchen. We have laundry on site in the basement there. And we could store stuff in the basement too if we needed to, right? We have a lot of closets. And we're also living with her 2 cats, Moon and Toby. So that's really cool, you know? 2 black cats, 2 big chonking black cats, all right? And they're settled in now. You know, they were having a hard time the first couple of days, but they finally settled in, you know. And, you know, things are on the up and up. You know, we're living together. It's been nice. You know, the thing about Kate and I, too, right? And this is really nice. And it's a huge contrast to some of my previous relationships, you know. We just kind of get along, you know. We just kind of like don't argue. It's kind of weird, actually, right? I'm used to like being with somebody and at least there's like some sort of friction, you know, like you'll find something to be nitpicky about, or, you know, you'll have like a gripe or two, or, you know, like, oh, you're doing this again. That's just kind of not the case anymore. And I don't know if it's like, maybe I'm in a better headspace or what, but you know, we just really, really get along. And we enjoy each other's company. We'll do pretty much anything together. You know, we'll go anywhere together. And, you know, I feel like we're making a good team. And I think that's really, really cool. So I'm happy. I'm just happy right now. I'm in a good space, which is really cool to say, you know. For a while, you know, I've been through some of my, I've been through some down periods over the years, you know. And I feel like I'm kind of on the, definitely on the upswing, and I've been on the upswing for quite a while. So I feel like I'm doing good. I feel like I'm doing great. So, you know, she's here. We have her cats here now. That's been a little bit of an adjustment for me, which is kind of surprising, you know. I love cats. I love living with cats. But I got to say, like, I don't know what it is, but my allergies have been kicking my butt, you know. Maybe it's because we're living with 2 cats, which is like twice as much fur laying around, twice as much dander, whatever it is, you know. It's been kicking my butt. So I've been making do, you know. I have Claritin. We try to like clean the sheets regularly. You know, I actually have like a lint roller just by the bed so I can get like cat hair off the bed and things like that. You know, when we were originally planning to move in together, I always told her, hey, no cats on the bed. And that just kind of didn't really work out. You know, it's actually kind of funny because we'll be laying in bed and the boys just kind of get on the bed and they snuggle up. Toby even gets under the covers with Kate. It's just cute, you know. They're sweet boys, you know. They're goofy as all hell, though. So, like, Toby is short for October, by the way. Kate calls him Toblerone. I call him Tobuscus. You know, we just have little nicknames. But Toby's the quiet one, right? Toby's very chill. He'll just kind of like lay on the bed, lay on the couch all day long. And, you know, once in a while he'll like, you know, get playful and, you know, get in like the cat tree and stuff like that. But for the most part, Toby is just like super relaxed, like all the time. Moon, on the other hand, is kind of the wild one, I've noticed, you know. And again, we're still getting adjusted, right? But Moon is much more, I don't know what the word would be, but he's much more jumpy, much more active. He definitely gets up and around a lot more. He's not as like rested all the time. Moon is the one who will wake up in the middle of the night and start meowing to get more food, you know. Moon is also the first one to rush into the kitchen when we have snacks, you know? Like Moon is just like he's a hungry boy, he's active, he gets what he wants, and Toby's just kind of chilling there like, all right, whatever, you know? So they definitely have pretty distinct personalities. By the way, they are from the same litter, right? So they're brothers, and they get along, they're bonded, and all that stuff. So it's a whole package, you know. So it's been nice, you know. I've always said that, you know, one of the things that brings me joy in life is cats. Honestly, you know, I feel like I get along with cats really well. Personally, I'm not much of a dog person, right? Much more of a cat guy. I feel like I can communicate with cats a lot better than dogs for whatever reason, you know? I think that my personality just meshes well with cats, you know? That's just me. I prefer, like, if I have an animal companion, for them to be a little bit more individualistic, right? Kind of doing their own thing. They come chill on their own terms. And, you know, I do the same, right? It's kind of like a mutual understanding thing. Rather than having, you know, a dog, which is like needy a lot more than a cat would be. You know, you don't need to take a cat out for a walk, right? You just need to provide for a cat. You know, I think that's the big thing. And, you know, they say that when you have a cat, they don't see you as a person. They see you kind of just like a big, weird cat, right? And I kind of like that because I kind of feel like a big weird cat sometimes, you know. So that's life, you know. Live with a couple of cats, we're having a good time. Kate and I are getting along really well. We're in our nice new big place. I have my office set up. That's where I'm at right now, which is actually part of the reason why it took so long to get recording again. You know. I didn't have my office set up, and now I'm finally in a place where I have it fully pretty much set up. I do have to do a couple of moving things still. Like, you know, I have my old full-size bed in here. I do want to get rid of that just to have some more space in here. You know, get like a bookshelf, maybe like a TV stand set up in here too. But, you know, I'm in here. I got my desk set up. I got my computer set up. Pretty much good to go, you know. I do have my Windows PC set up. But I do still need to set up, somehow I need to set up my Mac. So I'm kind of going to have to get like a separate desk or something for that, which is, you know, by the way, when I'm using PCs, I kind of have them set up for separate purposes, right? Like my Windows PC is more for like gaming, streaming, things like that, right? Whereas my Mac is more for like doing like creative stuff, right? So typically I would actually record this podcast on my Mac with a microphone, you know? But I just don't have it set up right now. That's also where I would do like music things too, where if I want to record something in Logic or GarageBand or things like that, that's what I would do it on is my Mac. Or even some like photo editing too, I would do it on there, you know? I feel like Mac has a lot of really good tools when it comes to creative work. And while Windows does have similar things available, I kind of use Windows as more of like a powerhouse system, whereas my Mac is more like, okay, well, I have an M2 and I can really pump stuff out and, you know, make it good. And I like a lot of the plugins that come with all the creative programs too. Again, like Logic is crazy. The program is insane when it comes to music production. So, you know, that's why I use my Mac. And honestly, when it comes to like the price of like a Mac Mini, it's really not expensive, all things considered, for what you get for it. I mean, you could spend, you know, like $1,000, $1,500 on like a gaming PC. Whereas like if you get like a Mac Mini and you're using it exclusively for creative work, you could pay like $500 to $600 and get a really, really powerful machine. You know, like if you're like a student or something, a Mac might be the way to go, especially if you're on a budget, and which is really weird to say, right? Like if you're on a budget and you want something that's going to last you for like a decade, spend $500, get yourself a Mac, you know? Again, it's weird to say. You always think Apple's like the most expensive thing, but in reality, in my experience at least, it's the thing that will last you the longest, you know? And all things considered, it's not that expensive. You know, people are haters on Apple products, by the way, I've noticed, you know, like I have an iPhone. By the way, I'm totally in the Apple ecosystem for better or worse, right? I've had an iPhone since God knows when, you know. Again, I have a Mac. I've had MacBooks, you know. I also have an iPad. I have AirPod Pros. I have an Apple Watch. You know, I got them. Like I'm got the whole ecosystem going on. You know, and it's kind of cool because they're all interconnected. I don't have that with Windows. There's no version of that ecosystem for Windows things. You know, I feel like Windows users, if they're really like Mac haters, they'll have an Android phone, which they might have applications that are synced up, but the entire thing isn't synced with their home device. You know, they might also have like a Samsung Galaxy tablet, right? Which again is a separate thing. It's just like you have separate ecosystems that do separate things. But if you have an Apple ecosystem, it's all the same. Like your notes are going to carry over to like every device that you have, which is really cool. So if I'm like in public and I have an idea for like a recording that I want to do, on my watch, I'll hit my record button for my voice memos. It'll populate on my phone. It'll populate on my home computer. It's seamless. It goes into the cloud and it's everywhere. You know, everything I do on one device is on every other device by default. And that's really freaking cool, you know? So I'm not trying to like toot Apple's horn or whatever, but there's definitely a lot of things to consider that are positive about getting Apple products, you know? I don't know if you know this. I'm a little bit of a tech guy, you know, kind of always have been, right? And I just kind of notice these pros and cons. I tend to not be like a hater of any like product, you know? I like to like see the pros and cons of anything. And more often than not, I just kind of see the pros in something and like those pros. And that's really all there is to it. Yeah, there might be cons, sure. But all things considered, the pros are still there, you know? Like whether there's pros or cons, what are you really weighing here, you know? Like if you want some of the pros, then go ahead and get the thing you want, you know? That's all there is to it. Instead of trying to compare apples to, well, I'd say oranges, but I guess Androids, you know, or Windows. Just get what you want. Get what you want for the reason you want. Stop complaining about other things. Really, if you're getting something to spite something else, that's silly. That's childish, right? If you're trying to buy something to spite buying a different thing, what are you doing? You know, is that really an opinion at that point? You know, think about the pros, right? What are the pro things? Are those the things that you want? Great, go get that thing, right? That's all there is to it, you know? It's just silly. You know, I'd say that Apple is actually really similar to Nintendo in a lot of ways these days too, you know? And I've said previously that Nintendo is also very similar to Disney in a lot of ways. But I do think that as far as technology goes, specifically, as far as like ecosystems go, Nintendo is very similar to Apple in that way, you know? Think of it like this, right? Apple has iPhones, they have iPads, they have home computers, all this other stuff, right? Nintendo is very different though, because they have their own ecosystem on what is now known as the Nintendo Switch family of systems, right? Where they have the Nintendo Switch, they have the Nintendo Switch OLED version, they have the Nintendo Switch Lite, and now recently released 1 month ago at this point is the Nintendo Switch 2. By the way, I do have the Nintendo Switch 2. I got it on release night. I was the first one to pick one up from the Best Buy. And I got like the collector's coin and all this other stuff. I managed to get the pre-order and all that stuff too. So I snagged one, right? I'm good to go. So, you know, in the same way I'm an Apple fan, I'm also a Nintendo fan for similar reasons, right? because there's this certain level of exclusivity when it comes to, Nintendo, right? Like you can't play Mario games on your Xbox or PlayStation or PC, right? You can't play Zelda on any of those either, at least not legally, right? Um, you know, Nintendo really is kind of the place to be for the things that I want to do. In the same way that I want to use creative applications on an Apple device, I want to play video games on a Nintendo device because those are the applications or games that I want to play. That's all there is to it. Like you can't play Mario Kart on the Xbox or the PlayStation or PC for that matter. There might be alternatives that have come out, but in a way, they're just trying to replicate what Nintendo has already done. They say that Sega does what Nintendo don't, but Nintendo does a lot. I'm just saying, right? So that's all there is as far as that goes. I mean, there's a lot of exclusive games on the Switch. There are entire franchises that exist on the Switch that you just can't get anywhere else. Just like you can't get GarageBand on your Android device. It's very similar. It's sort of that walled off approach to things and that exclusivity, which I do think might be considered anti-consumer in some ways, but also it builds a level of exclusivity with these systems that adds like a value to having these systems, right? If every device was the same, then what's the point of having any specific device at all at that point, right? Nintendo's very good about making things that are optimized for their given hardware, for example, even like third-party games, which are on the Nintendo Switch, some of them are miracles for them to be running on effectively like a mobile chipset. It's effectively just a really large Android phone, just customized in a weird way, or like a tablet. But getting games to run on something like that came out in 2017, and even then it was outdated hardware, is nuts. It's really crazy. So anyway, all that is to say is that Nintendo and Apple have a lot of similarities when it comes to peripherals, when it comes to their sort of walled garden approach to exclusivity and things like that. Just trying to draw the comparison there, something to think about, But I don't want to get too deep into tech stuff. I know it's probably sleeping already thinking about this stuff, but that's okay. We'll move on to the next thing. But anyways, I have my office set up now. It's really nice. I do want to build like a bookshelf. Again, I want to get like a TV stand in here. I want to set this up as sort of my like den. I've always kind of wanted a den, right? I feel like my last apartment was just really tiny. And yeah, it was technically 2 bedrooms, but it's just not enough space for even one person, I would say. I felt cramped. I have no idea how 2 guys who went to college and a dog lived in there before me. That's wild. Like, how did they have any space whatsoever? I have no idea, So all that is to say is we have a lot of space now. And I feel like I can finally breathe. I can finally sort of move around. I can finally feel comfortable living at home, And I don't feel compelled to just get out because I'm going stir crazy or anything like that. I don't get cabin fever in here. It's just very chill, We also have central air, which is really, really cool. First time I've ever had that in my life. And we have like 4 units, 2 downstairs, 2 upstairs. And I keep it a nice, cool 64 degrees all the time. And even keeping it pumping constantly, our electric bill for a month was only like $90. That's crazy because this thing is just on all the time, Whereas before, when I had like a window unit, it would be like $200, like twice as much, and it wouldn't even get that cold, So central air is it's a life changer. It really is. I get cold. It's 90 degrees outside sometimes, and I am freezing in here. I have to get like a sweatshirt on while I'm working, So it's it's just really nice. You know, just living life at home in our new place. It's pretty cool. Our parking situation's a little bit interesting though. So Kate and I both have vehicles. You know, I have a sedan. She has an SUV. And because there are like 5 units in this building, ours is like the largest unit, but there are 5 units in this building. Parking is problematic. All right. Like in the back, we kind of have to park like behind each other, you know, like I'll pull in, she has to pull in behind me if she has to go somewhere in the morning, that kind of thing, you know. But we make it work, right? But it might be nice if we had more parking, or at least if like street parking didn't give you a ticket overnight, that'd be nice too. But I guess you can't park outside after 3 a.m. So that is what it is, you know. I don't know why places do that, by the way. Like, the whole like, oh, if you park on the street after a certain time, you're getting a ticket. Like, why? Like, what if somebody like stays overnight somewhere? Does everybody really got to get a ticket? You know, like you have to be like a resident to be parked somewhere. It's crazy. I don't understand, but whatever. So, again, living with cats has been really, really nice. It's been a nice experience. Even if my allergies have been flaring up like crazy, I'll like wake up in the middle of the night and I notice that like I've been mouth breathing. I need to drink some water. I can't breathe out of my nose, And look, I'm congested normally as it is. I've noticed over time that my allergies are just like really bad, And maybe it's something that I can address with a doctor at some point down the line. But I think a big allergy thing for me is it's unfortunately it's cats. Like I notice like if I get like the itchy, watery eyes, yeah, I'm toast. That's like major allergy for me. Like I'll feel like my face starting to swell up. I'll get the itchy, watery eyes. I have eye drops for it, thankfully, but still, living with cats, I love them. I love them so much. They're killing me. So it is what it is, But for that reason, I do have a little issue, right? I've talked about it before. I quit vaping. I quit drinking, I'm a sober gopher these days. You know what I'm saying? But I do have a small problem. I've developed a small habit. And apparently I'm not the only one, but it is nasal spray. Oh my God. Why does it work so well? First of all right. It's the only thing that clears me out instantly. It's immediate relief. Immediately. And I'm talking like Afrin, where the main ingredient is oxymetazoline or metazoline. Oxymetazoline. That's the ingredient. That's the only thing that gives me relief. And I've never felt relief like it before. Right. I am unfortunately building a habit off of using nasal spray. And it's something that I will need to quit. All right. But here's the issue, right? I don't think I'm addicted to nasal spray. I think I'm addicted to breathing. I feel like most people can breathe without nasal spray, but I can't, That's the problem. And I figured it out. Okay. I've done a little bit of math in my head. All right. Yes, it's bad. All right. Nasal spray it can be a problem. All right. It can cause other issues and things like that. And in fact, there's a thing called the rebound effect, where if you quit taking it, your congestion is actually way worse than when you started. Right. So there is sort of a rebound. There is a physical addiction factor here. Right. But okay, it's $5 a bottle. All right, you can get it anywhere. You can get it at your local Rite Aid. You can get it at Walmart. You can get it anywhere. All right, it works. I don't know what to say. There are other prescriptions that people take, that that have side effects as well, right? Just saying, like, of all the things that could be harmful, I feel like nasal spray is relatively low on the list, right? I don't think it's going to cause any like life-altering issues necessarily, but it's certainly been helpful, which is really unfortunate to say, So I just keep a bottle of nasal spray on me pretty much anywhere, just in case, because it does work, I can breathe. I can breathe out of both nostrils. That's crazy. That is actually crazy. I have a deviated septum, It's just something that I've always had. I had I had like an x-ray of my head done at one point because I was having like chronic headaches and stuff. And I went to an ENT, they did it there and they said, "Oh yeah, you have a pretty gnarly deviated septum. It's like an S, just kind of curved up in there." And they said that, I could do the surgery, of course, and all this other stuff. But for the cost of the surgery, that's like 200 bottles of just nasal spray, So like, for what it's worth, I could have relief right now and I won't have to recover from surgery. There are no complications necessarily. I could do the surgery later if I wanted to, but if I want to drop $5 every now and then and get the same level of relief, is that so bad? You know what I mean? Do I have to get surgery to fix my problem? Or can I just go to Walmart, pay $5 and have effectively the same thing for like 12 hours, at a time? It's a couple of spritz, and I'm good for like most of the day. That's magical. That is a problem solver. And that is why I am addicted to nasal spray. I'm willing to admit it. I don't think they have an AA meeting for nasal spray. All right. Maybe they should. Afrin Anonymous. Man, it works though. I don't know what to say. So, because I live with cats, I think that this issue, unfortunately, won't be going away for a while. So we'll see what happens there. So yeah, nasal spray's messed up because it works. And I was looking on Reddit too, because there's like communities for everything, right? I think I mentioned it before, but there's a community for quit vaping. I've posted in there. There's been some like positive things going on in there, which is really cool. There's also a quit Afrin Reddit. Okay. I think it's r/quit Afrin. And it's for people who are struggling with nasal spray addiction. And I was reading some of their testimonies and they say, yeah, I've been doing this for 20 years. And yeah, you have to do it a little more frequently and yada, yada, yada. But then I realized like they've been doing this for 20 years and they're fine. All things considered, yeah, if they wanted to quit, it would probably take like a week to wean off of it, but it's fine, right? I don't think that these people have any major issues. Maybe there are fringe cases where people have like, some freak thing happen in their sinuses, but for the most part, there are people who've been just doing nasal spray for like 20 years or whatever, So I've been doing it for like a month or two at this point. Just spritz. I can sleep at night. I can get up in the morning comfortably. I can get through my day and I'm breathing. I feel like I'm more awake than ever because I just get more oxygen now for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I actually feel like I wasn't getting enough oxygen to my brain. And for that reason, I was tired all the time. Like, I don't think I have sleep apnea. I just think I have congestion all the time. Like, I don't think I have sleep apnea. I don't think I do. I have my Apple Watch. It tracks my sleep, right? And it will uptick when I'm feeling like a cold coming on or if I have allergies picking up. It'll say, hey, you had breathing disturbances while you were sleeping. It's because I'm congested. That's the reason I'm not getting rest at night. I've noticed that when I start taking nasal spray before I go to bed, I'm cleared out. I'm sleeping well. I don't think I'm snoring. I don't have to breathe through my mouth all night. And I can lay down with cats and I'll be okay. It's a life changer. And I'm not here to like say, hey, everybody should go out and do nasal spray. But I am saying that personally, it's helped me. You know, I'm not advocating for nasal spray, but I am saying it's a life changer. All right. I guess there's a difference, right? So yeah, you know what? It worked. So there's that. You know what? Let's talk a little bit more about food. All right. It is ice cream season, which means that all your local ice cream stands are open. What's your favorite ice cream? Let me know in the comments below. I am curious. What kind of ice cream you go for? Do you go for hard ice cream? Do you like your cookies and cream? Are you just an old school soft serve ice cream kind of person? Do you get sprinkles? Do you get toppings? Do you get a sundae? Do you get Dole Whip? Do you get froyo? What do you like? Tell me down below. I'll tell you what I like. All right. I'm a very simple person. And I do mix it up once in a while. But my main go-to at the ice cream stand is, get this, a small chocolate cone with chocolate sprinkles. That is the best ice cream, in my opinion. Okay? Super simple. Everybody's got it. Any ice cream stand you go to is going to have chocolate ice cream, and they're also going to have chocolate sprinkles. All right? Just saying, if you want consistency, you get that. All right? Lately, though, I have been getting it, it's a cone. I get the cone. Come on, you got to get the cone, right? You get the cone, but then you also get a cup with it. All right? That way, if it starts dribbling, you just drop the whole thing in the cup, and you get a spoon. And you just eat your ice cream cone with a spoon. All right? I feel like in a way that's almost blasphemous, though. It's almost similar to like eating, it's like eating pizza with a fork and a knife, eating an ice cream cone with a spoon, Like there's something kind of messed up about it. But, the difference, I think, is that, at least with pizza, you can like roll it up, the New York style. You kind of tuck your finger in there, you fold it up like taco style, and you eat it that way. You can eat pizza one-handed. With an ice cream cone, look, it's summertime. Why is ice cream the summertime food? I feel like if anything, it should be a winter food so that it doesn't melt. You know what I mean? Like in summer, ice cream melts. Why wouldn't they just have it out in winter? Like open up the ice cream stand. You'll save on energy bills. Just keep it cold. You know what I mean? But you know what? Yeah, ice cream's messy. You're going to get it all over your hand. Even if you get a small cone. Like I only get a small. I get a small chocolate cone with chocolate sprinkles. A small cone is still a lot of ice cream. You don't need a freaking tower, You don't need the leaning tower piece of ice cream. And trust me, that shit will be leaning. All right? A small cone's going to do it, but even then it's going to melt right in your hand every single time. There's a reason they hand it to you in a napkin. They know it's going to melt. You're going to need that napkin. You're going to need 10 more napkins too. All right? You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. Ice cream is wasteful because you're going to rip through a bunch of napkins. It's going to be a mess. You're going to get sticky. If you're wearing a white shirt, good luck. All right? Hope you don't get chocolate. So that's why, you know what? Get the cone, get a cup with it. All right? Get the cup with a spoon. Just an empty cup with a spoon with your ice cream cone. It's a lifesaver. All right? Just dump that ice cream cone in there upside down. Cone side up. All right? Get the spoon, eat the thing. It's great. It's perfect. Life hack. All right? Yes, get the ice cream cone. Get the cup with it. Just saying. All right? Best of both worlds. So, let me know down below. Like, what's your favorite ice cream? Something I've been looking out for is something I've grown to like recently is Dole Whip, right? Technically, I'm lactose intolerant. Most of the time, I don't care. If anything, I use lactose intolerance as an excuse not to eat shitty food. All right. Like sour cream. I can't stand sour cream. I'll just tell people I'm lactose intolerant. It's an easy way out, right? But when it comes to ice cream, Dole Whip is super duper good. If you've never had Dole Whip before, it's basically just like a fruity freeze thing, It's just like a fruity sort of sorbet thing. It's like ice cream in consistency, but it's fruit. It's super duper good. The most common type is like lemon, I think. You'll find lemon or pineapple most frequently, but there are other flavors out there. One that I've been meaning to try is like an orange flavor Dole Whip. I love orange cream, So I think an orange one would be really good. But the our local place here in Cortland, New York, their Dole Whip machine has been down all season so far. And it's been really disappointing because they had some pretty good Dole Whip. So I just got to keep getting my chocolate cone, I guess, they got some other kind of crazy ice cream creations too, like they have ice cream nachos, which are pretty cool. I had them and okay, in concept, they're cool, but in reality, it's not that good. All right. Basically what it is it's kind of like if you're going to the fair and you get nachos, you get that like clear plastic plate thing, where it's like the nacho, the chips on one side and you got the glob of cheese and the little cup thing inside of the thing. It's kind of like that, but instead of chips, it's like little like waffle cone chips. You dip it in like ice cream, In theory, it sounds good, right? It's like, oh, I love nachos. I love ice cream. Slab them together, But honestly, it's better to just eat the ice cream, right? If anything, it's too waffle cone heavy, There is a such thing as it turns out as too much cone. Too much waffle cone is not a great thing because then the focus is on the chips. It's not on the ice cream. It's on the dipping. You know what I mean? Like you have nachos. I mean, you think like, oh yeah, the cheese is the most important part. No, you're eating chips. You're just dunking it in cheese. Cheese is the topping. Chips are what you're eating, right? So, in concept, nacho ice cream sounds dope. All right. But you're just eating like waffle cone chips. And it's like, do I really want waffle cone chips? Not really. I'd rather have the ice cream because if you have the ice cream in a waffle cone, the ice cream's going to like get into the waffle cone. It's going to sort of seep in a little bit. And that waffle cone all of a sudden is going to have that ice cream flavor. Right. But if you're just taking plain waffle cone chips, dry, and you're dunking it into ice cream, you're just not going to have the opportunity to actually eat the ice cream. You're just going to be sitting there eating chips, It's just not the same. So I don't recommend getting ice cream nachos, all right? Just get yourself an ice cream cone, It's just, it's gimmicky. Like you'll try it one time and it's like, I'm not getting this again, Is what it is. But, let me know down below. What kind of ice cream you like? What's your favorite ice cream? And you know what? Something else too. In your ice cream comment, also tell me what is your favorite pizza topping or pizza topping combo. All right. Like, is your favorite topping pepperoni or is it pepperoni jalapenos? That's a whole different level. That's a whole separate pizza, So let me know down below, what kind of pizza you into. Personally, huge pepperoni fan. All right. But I think the perfect combo is definitely pepperoni, jalapeno, and pineapple. All right. Controversial take. I know. Pineapple is good on pizza. Hate to say it. All right. I'm from New York. I know how it goes. If I'm at an Italian place, oh no, pineapple won't be seen anywhere near the premises. But, if you're going to like Domino's or something, pepperoni, jalapeno, and pineapple. Swear to God, it's the best pizza. It is. You get a little bit of the spicy. You get the sweetness. and you get the savory. Okay, that's a good ass pizza. All right, just saying. Um, some people might put olives on something like that too, right? To kind of get that sort of twang to it, I guess. I hate olives. Sorry, folks. I guess we're learning a couple of things today. I hate olives and I hate sour cream. That's just how it is. You know what one of the most popular foods at cookouts is? It's it's buffalo wing dip. At least in my area, it's buffalo wing dip, you know? Maybe it's like a New York thing, I don't know. But buffalo wing dip is like a huge you have like a cookout, somebody's bringing the buffalo wing dip, you know? In theory, that sounds awesome. Like, oh yeah, I would love buffalo wings, you know? But here's the thing about me eating buffalo wings. I eat them with just the buffalo sauce on it. Like, I don't dunk them in ranch. I don't dunk them in blue cheese, you know? I'm just going to have the spicy wings. That's what it's all about, you know? And if you notice with buffalo wing dip, it's going to have it's a dip. It's going to have some special stuff in it, right? Namely, sour cream or ranch or blue cheese or all of them at the same time because it's a big layered dip, you know? So therefore, I've never eaten buffalo wing dip and I never will. That sounds like a bad time, you know? Same reason I don't like lasagna, you know? There are some cheeses I like. There are some cheeses I don't like. I don't like ricotta, all right? If I wanted to eat cream cheese, I'd have a bagel. Just saying, all right? And even then, I don't particularly like cream cheese either, you know? I just don't like creamy things, I think, is what it comes down to. Except for ice cream, right? Ice cream's a different can of worms. But you know what? I can't do it. You know, I can't do sour cream. I used to like ranch on my salad. I stopped doing that too. I got disgusted by it for whatever reason. And the thing is too, is that like there are different kinds of ranch dressing. Some of them have sour cream in it. You know, some of them have like a buttermilk and some of them have mayonnaise, you know, which, you know, sounds gross, but I would rather have the one with the mayonnaise. You know, that's just me. Like at least then it's like, okay, I know it's dairy free, so it's not going to kill me. Right. And if it tastes like ranch, then that's fine, you know? But the problem is that you never know which one you're going to get. Like you go out to a restaurant, you get yourself a salad, you get ranch dressing. Which one are you going to end up with? You know, you gotta flip a coin. You never know. So for that reason, I just don't do ranch anymore because you never know. It's a mystery. Why is ranch like one of those things? They should have a different name for the different things, you know? But like, why is it all ranch? Like, okay, you get the buttermilk ranch. Like, yeah, you go to the store, you get the Hidden Valley. They label it differently. It says buttermilk ranch, right? But like, if you go out to a restaurant, they should call it something different, you know? So that's why I get Italian. Get the Italian dressing, you know? That's the safe bet. I mean, my personal opinion too, I feel like if you get like one of the oil-based salads, you're going to have a better time. It's usually just a better salad in general. Because if you get like a cream-based dressing, it's just going to be overpowering, you know? At least with something like Italian dressing, it's got like the sort of peppery flavor to it. It's oil, so it's like, I guess it's healthier fats, you know? It just sounds better to me overall. Just get the Italian dressing. Or, you know, sometimes you get the balsamic vinaigrette. That's really good. You know, I used to work at a pizza place. We used to make our own balsamic, and it was really good. So, you know, I got a little inside baseball on that one, you know. Yeah, you know, if you're getting salad, get the oil-based stuff. It's way better, right? I mean, there's a reason people go to Olive Garden and they get the bottomless salad. You know, it's all about the dressing. It really is. Like that lettuce, by the way, at Olive Garden. I don't know the last time you went to Olive Garden was and got a salad, but that lettuce is soggy, man. And, you know, at least it's like, at least the dressing's good because you take the breadsticks, you dip in the dressing. It's awesome. It's immaculate. There's nothing better in the world than a warm Olive Garden breadstick dipped in the Italian dressing, you know? But that lettuce is just soggy. Like, I wish it was just like not. I wish it wasn't like iceberg lettuce. Like, give me like some fresh romaine or like mixed greens, you know? But instead of like this soggy iceberg lettuce, like, come on, what are you doing, folks? You know? I feel like I kind of went in like all kinds of different directions the past 10 minutes or so. You know, again, it's my first time back in a few months. So I think we're just going to about wrap it up here. I appreciate you folks being here. I hope you've enjoyed this insane rambling and yapping that I've done for the past hour. But hey, again, let me know down below, what's your favorite ice cream? What are your favorite pizza toppings? And I'll catch you next time. I don't know when I'm going to record another one, but if you leave me likes and comments, well, I'll try to do it sooner rather than later. All right. But hey, I'm Justin Grimes. I appreciate you being here. And I'll talk to you soon. And by the way, I do stream occasionally on Twitch at twitch.tv/Juggernaut, JuGrNaught, just like my YouTube channel name. All right. So feel free to catch me there. I stream video games. But hey, I'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.